Hi, it's Steph Evans from Evans Scent Creations. I just wanted to do a little tutorial for you on stitching the finer details. So I'm just using one strand of cotton and we're going to do some small straight stitches to create the details on the inner ear, also the eyebrows, the nose, the lips, and the lines on the neck. So as you can see here, I'm literally just using straight stitches, long stitches for these details. So I'm just doing quite long stitches. There you go. So much longer than I'd use for like a back stitch. But for the finer details, it works really well because it looks a lot more fluid. And because you're only using one strand, it's not too heavy. So I'm literally just using that one strand, one long stitch for each of these little bits. And then when I move on to some of the smaller details, so like the curves of the lips, or like the little bits around the nostrils, then I'm going to use some smaller stitches. But I just find like where you can use the longer stitches, you're better to do it because it looks a lot more fluid. Okay, so for these little details around the nostril, I'm literally going to use little diddy stitches because we want to make sure that we're getting the right shape. So I'm going to just use a little stitch here. Okay. And then for the next curve, I'm going to use two little stitches so it gives you the right shape for the nostril. So whenever you're going round a bend or a curve, it's really important for you to use little stitches because that'll mean that it's a lot more fluid. It's not as rigid. If you're doing straight lines, so like here on the lip, I'll use one stitch to make the straight line, and just to give it a little bit of curve, I'm going to bring the needle up in between the beginning and the end part of that first stitch, and that'll actually help to give me a little curve. I'm going to do this next stitch here, so can you see how it's kind of giving you a bend for the top part of the lip, and it's meant that it's rounded the bottom part of the lip. So I'm going to use one little stitch for this middle part of the top lip because I want that to be straight. I'll do the same on the other side. Okay. Here we go. And then I'm going to try and get that curve again on the line, the last stitch, by bringing it up, putting it back into the same hole, but then I'm actually going to bring the needle up at the bottom and kind of trying to pull that stitch downwards so it gives a nice little curve. There we go. Okay, so that's the lips done. I'm going to move on to the eyebrows, and for this I'm going to use the same technique, but I'm actually just going to build it up a little bit. So on this side here, I'm going to do a stitch into the middle, and then I'm going to crisscross it across and just kind of build the eyebrow up until I've got the right thickness. Okay, so it's a bit like the long and short stitch technique. I'm overlapping and I'm bringing the needle back into where the last stitch was to give a really nice, neat, smooth line. But we're just going to build it up until we get it to the right thickness. Okay, maybe one more. There we go. I'll just finish it off here. There we go. Okay. there. So you can see if you wanted it to be thicker, you could keep doing this technique. If you wanted it to be thinner, obviously you could have stopped sooner, but I think we're pretty much there with the eyebrow. Okay, so that is creating the finer details with just very short individual straight stitches. You can build them up like we did do on the eyebrow there, but you can play around with the different curves by kind of tacking those stitches down into one place. But I think it works really well using the one strand of thread. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.